Forgot to play the intro, didn't I?
Deep left field! Out of here!
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another beautiful edition of the Baumbastic Podcast. I am your host, Andrew Ellis, and I am pleased to be joining you here on this beautiful Thursday afternoon to talk about all the latest action or lack thereof for the Arkansas Razorbacks in the transfer portal. Sorry for the little bit of the delay, and I don't mean the delay of me forgetting to play my intro after the countdown. I mean, it's been 6 days since I've seen you guys in this form, since I've done a podcast, and so I'm really happy to get back into it, get back into the swing of things a little bit. So that's exciting, but I did just want to apologize for that because, I had a lot of things popping up on the personal front. I'd kind of hoped to do a pod Tuesday, thought I might do one yesterday. Honestly, going into this week, I was thinking, hey, Arkansas might have 7 portal commitments. I might have to just go, go live 20 times. Who knows? And, we'll see how it plays out. But, all week, I feel like I've been getting asked by people like, hey, should I be panicking because Arkansas doesn't have anyone, committed in the portal other than, Vahiva Aloy's brother, Kuhio, who we all love. And it's going to be awesome. And we love having the Hawaiian Hogs. But, I think there are a lot of Hog fans who expected, hey, you get bounced from the regional early. You expect to just hit the ground running in the portal. And, you're seeing other teams like LSU, Florida, Georgia, who are even, I guess Georgia's not playing anymore, but some of these teams that are still playing, racking up commits, and you're starting to think like, hey, what's going on? What's going on? Like, why are we not getting guys in the portal here? And so I think that leads to a little bit of unrest, a little bit of some questioning and stuff like that. But ultimately, it's very early in this process. Like I said on the last show on Friday, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and today is June 13th. A year ago yesterday was when Arkansas got Hudson White committed. And I referenced that the other day that, these things sometimes take a little bit to get going. But I'm with you guys where I kind of was hoping to see a little bit more action. Wanted to see some, wanted to get that off our shoulders a little bit, that weight off your shoulders. You get that first big name, that first big portal pop. And that's usually kind of when you can start relaxing a little bit. Like I remember when they got Hudson White last year and then followed up with Vahiva Aloy a few days later. Like it kind of just launched a little bit of a rampage there and we all felt a lot better. And so we're all kind of waiting on that to happen. And, we're going to talk about all of it today. So I appreciate you guys that are joining us here on the live chat. But before we get going, I must talk to you about our boys at L Jennings Law. Folks, as we gear up for another weekend of baseball, a weekend of baseball that I'm not going to be watching. I'm just telling you, I'm not watching the College World Series. I don't care. I'm sure someone's going to ask me, who should we be cheering? Who do you cheer for in the College World Series? None of them. I hope it gets canceled somehow. I hope it just gets rained out completely. But as we gear up for another weekend of baseball, let's talk strategy, and not just on the field, but for your life. Today's program is brought to you by L Jennings Law, your go-to experts in estate planning, specializing in trust, business planning, and elder law. Whether you're looking to secure your family's future with a solid estate plan, manage your business's succession plan, or navigate the complexities of long-term care, L Jennings Law has you covered. They craft personalized solutions with the same precision and impact of a Hagen Smith fastball that we will never see again, at least in an Arkansas Razorback uniform. Call Ledly Jennings today for a free consultation. L Jennings Law, a Good Steward Firm. And if you do want to call them, as you can see, the phone number there, 501-501-WILL, which is 501-501-9455. You could also check them out at ljenningslaw.com. That's www.ljenningslaw.com. I would also like to give a quick shout out to our guys over at Alumni Hall, who really did an awesome, by the way, if anyone missed this, we did a tornado relief stream last week on the John Neighbors Show. Me, Curtis, and Scotty, we all popped up on that. That was a lot of fun. There were a lot of other guests. Tara Talmadge was on there. That was cool. And they had plenty of guests that were kind of trying to raise money for this charity. So if you missed that, you can go check that out on the main Natty State Sports YouTube channel. You have to go back. I guess when was that? Last Thursday. But there's a QR code there if you do want to donate to help the tornado relief, because obviously we know Northwest Arkansas was hit by that tornado, and that was, nothing that, something that I'm sure some of you guys were affected or know people that were affected. Natural disasters are never fun. And, there's a lot of people who just kind of get hit by it and there's nothing to do. And so, we really enjoyed doing that. We raised a little bit over $1,000, which was awesome. So if you want to get on that action, go to that John Neighbors Show. But Alumni Hall also helped us. They set up a donation box at their store, and they were really pleased to be a part of that, and they were excited about it. And Alumni Hall also shout out to them because they are the leaders in Razorback sports apparel. I mean, whether you're getting shirts, pants, collared polos, jackets, sweatpants, hoodies, whatever, clothes for your kids, the whole outfits or whatever. I love to say that they had the t-shirts of Jackson Wiggins. I always love that. There's always good stuff on clearance there. I believe it's like 2 for $38, the t-shirts, which, they're t-shirts. They have such a wide selection. I don't know how you beat that. But also, if you want to support us and support Alumni Hall, you can go check out their online website, nattystatesports.com/alumni hall. That'll take you right to the store where you can look at everything and check that out. I've also been hearing some murmurs that maybe one day you might get to go to Alumni Hall at 3417 North College Avenue in Fayetteville, right by the Whole Foods, right by the Chipotle. You might be able to go there one day and see some Natty State sports merch. Might see some of that, which would be really awesome. And so we are really pleased with our partnership with Alumni Hall. They are the best. And I really obviously, obviously, you can say I'm biased, I'm not objective or whatever, but I really do think they're like as the cream of the crop when it comes to Razorback apparel. I do not think you should be going anywhere else. Like, there are other places. I've bought stuff from other places, but I think Alumni Hall is kind of my go-to at this point, and it should be everyone's go-to. For whatever your needs are, whether you're gifting, whether you're doing whatever. We're in the summer now, where there's no sports going on. We're kind of in that time of year where you gotta update your merch, you gotta update your apparel, you gotta get your new swag. And also for anyone that's likes this hat or likes any of our shirts that we won, and you're kind of like, hey man, let me get one of those Natty State sports things. Like I said, you might be able to get that at Alumni Hall here soon. But you can also scan this QR code right now. Or you can go to our website, shopnattystate.com, and it will take you right to, we're just now starting this sucker. So it's not like we've got the full Alumni Hall, the shoes, the jackets, the whatever, but we've got our 5 shirt options. We got the pink, the red, the gray, the black, the sand color, which I really like. We also have that sky blue. Did I say blue already? Yeah, that sky blue is sexy. And then we have the 2 different hat options. We've got it all. So if you want to do that, scan this QR code right here with your phone. Do that little thing if you're watching on a TV or whatever. But also, like I said, you can go to our site, shopnattystate.com, and they will take care of you. So, guys, let's talk about the portal. Let's talk about the portal, and let's talk about why Arkansas ain't doing nothing in the portal. So the way it works, like every single time, is anytime someone commits to a school that's not Arkansas, particularly a player that you look at, you see the numbers, you're like, huh, I would have liked that guy. I forget the name of that pitcher, that starting pitcher from Wofford that just committed to LSU, but I'm like, man, that'd have been a nice one. Every time that happens, people see that, they immediately think about Arkansas, and they're like, man, Arkansas must just not be doing anything in the portal, right? It's just kind of the way that we view it. It's the way our brains process these things. I'm here to tell you that's not true. And so I titled this episode, Who Will Be Arkansas's Next Portal Pop? And obviously I've seen some people kind of throwing in their guesses and whatever. Well, I guess I should just lead with the fact that Arkansas did just wrap up a visit yesterday with TCU outfielder Logan Maxwell, who I guess I've referenced on this program a couple times. Gotten to speak to Logan a few times. I feel very good about Arkansas's chances with this one. We'll see. Now, he is currently at Ole Miss. He's in Oxford right now, going through his visit with the Ole Miss Rebels. So, anytime a player visits another school, you got to kind of be watching out for that. That's just the way it is. Obviously, you feel very good if you're able to get a kid to campus. You feel pretty good about your chances to, make your pitch and do whatever. But no matter what, whether you're the first visit, the last visit, anytime that player is visiting another school, you're going to just have to be on pins and needles and wait. But as of yesterday, I feel good about Arkansas's chances to land Logan Maxwell. Just all the tea leaves that I've been able to sift through, I feel like it's a good fit. I feel like Arkansas is very much emphasized outfield because, we're assuming that Arkansas is going to have to replace all 3 of their outfielders from an outfield that really wasn't all that productive. So if you look at a lot of the guys that Arkansas has been attached to, a lot of the guys that Arkansas has been after, and kind of, the guys that we've really seen them connected to, it's a lot of outfielders. And I think that was obviously a point of emphasis. Last year, whenever Arkansas had 2 holes during the season at catcher and shortstop, they immediately went and got a catcher and a shortstop in the portal. And so I think it's a little bit of a similar situation here where they're going to figure out this outfield situation and then kind of move on from there. And obviously, it's not like they're just talking to outfielders. There's plenty of pitchers they've reached out to, some guys that they've been connecting with. But Logan Maxwell. So I'm just gonna let me see if I can Let me see if I can pull up his numbers real quick, just in case you were not familiar with his game. Now, weirdly enough, I don't think he's played against Arkansas. Like, I don't know if he was banged up or whatever, but I don't believe he actually. I think he maybe played, but I don't know if he started the games last year when Arkansas played them. He might have played him in Arlington, but he doesn't. He's not like the Trey Richardson where it's like, oh, I remember that guy for sure. But this dude has been a big time piece in TCU's lineup the last 2 years. Been playing left field and DH. Now, he was mostly their DH down the stretch this past year, so we'll see what that means in terms of, we'll see what he looks like if he makes it to campus. Is this a guy that's going to play left field, right field? Could he play center, or is he really just more of a DH option? We'll see. But in 2023, so last season, he had an even 300 at TCU, just 2 home runs, 18 RBI. He only played 38 games, so they must have been, some banged up, some whatever. Stole 4 bases as well, but his on base percentage was was 418. So, I mean, the guy that gets on base a good bit. He came back this year, played 46 games and hit 335 with a 930 OPS. Only 3 home runs, did steal 10 bases though, but had more walks than strikeouts. Walked 30 times, struck out 23. Cut down on his strikeout rate, went up on his walk rate. Even his slugging percentage was up a little bit. So, I mean, just seems like a very safe bet as a guy that is going to get on base, and a guy that, brings some experience playing in the Big 12 for 2 years, playing at a high level. I think it just makes a ton of sense. I mean, TCU, like Dallas to Fayetteville, is not a far drive or anything. So it just makes a lot of sense. And when I talked to him, it seemed like he was very much impressed by the Arkansas atmosphere whenever he came and played there last year, which, again, that's kind of just going to be the case with everyone. I mean, Cody Frank or whoever it is, when guys come and play at Baum-Walker Stadium, it's usually like, oh, wow. Like, I remember when I was talking to Luke Holman's dad last year when Arkansas was kind of in on him in the portal, that was kind of the first thing he brought up is he got to pitch there on a Saturday night in Fayetteville, and pitching against Arkansas kind of makes you think, man, it'd be nice to pitch here on the other side, Now, obviously, Arkansas didn't land Luke Holman. We'll see if they're able to land Logan Maxwell. But as I said, I feel pretty good about it as of yesterday. Now, I'm not in Oxford today. I have no idea what's going on in Oxford. They could be holding him up in a dark room and holding him for ransom. Who knows? You kind of like at the mercy of how this thing is going to play out. But like I said, everyone I've talked to and everyone I've kind of gotten their opinion on, it seems like there's obvious lot of connection, a lot of interest between Logan Maxwell and Arkansas, but it seems like the visit went well, and all indications are that Arkansas is in a very good spot to land him. So we'll see how that plays out. I'd imagine he'll wait until he's finished his visits, and maybe this weekend we'll make a decision. So if we're just saying who will be Arkansas's next portal pop, Logan Maxwell, I'd put him at like a minus 450 favorite. But there's one other guy I wanted to talk to before I start. Now, I don't want this to turn into just full on me just listing out guys who might commit to Arkansas or anything like that. But I did want to touch on this young man named Kyle Jones, who just finished up his freshman season at Stetson. Now, this is a guy who wasn't a massive recruit or anything, but obviously went to Stetson, which is the Stetson Hatters are a like sneaky, really good baseball program. They've had a lot of really good pitchers over the years, but they made the tournament this year and were a legit offense this year. Kyle Jones played center field for Stetson. And by all indications, he's 6'3", 175, 180, like that tall, skinny, kind of in the Mason Neville build. Now, he's a very, very, very different player than Mason Neville, who, by the way, is a pretty good player for Oregon. But he's a similar build of just like that tall, rangy center fielder who can really run, can really track it down. He's a plus defender in center field, which of course we know is a big deal, something that Arkansas's had a lot of over the year. But as a freshman at Stetson, so he hit 355. Now, again, this isn't the SEC. This is the A-Sun, not necessarily he's not facing 96, 97 all the time. But he hit 355 with a 935 OPS, had 5 home runs, also stole 23 bases. Now, again, not the SEC, so it's like, is he going to steal 23 bases of the SEC? Probably not, especially since Arkansas doesn't really do that. But, DVH, when he was talking about who Arkansas wants to bring in, some athletes like that, a guy that stole 23 bases, again, another guy, more walks than strikeouts. So kind of not in the build that Arkansas has gone after, which is a lot of the guys who have the swing and miss, but have a ton of that power potential. Also, I would point out about Kyle Jones, he's a leadoff hitter type of guy, and I'd say Logan Maxwell is also kind of a leadoff hitter type of guy. So some similarities there, not completely the same, but Kyle Jones, if you just watch him play and if you just look at him, he seems like a very projectable guy. So I'm not saying that 5 home run number is for sure going to go up when he comes to Arkansas, but historically, Arkansas is pretty good about when they bring in transfers who are like kind of proven at other levels, they typically have a little bit of a power surge. You think about Trevor Ezell, who in 2019 set his career high for home runs. You think about, Matt Goodhart was a guy who was not a power hitter by any means. He comes to Arkansas, all of a sudden he's hitting 12, 15 home runs. Jay Sporfin obviously was a guy that had some power potential, increased his by a good bit. Michael Turner fits this mold as well. Tavian Josenberger is probably the most relevant example of this, of a guy who kind of had zero power and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, boom. So, I mean, it seems to be a pretty consistent trend that if Arkansas brings in transfers that are like legit proven players, if nothing else, they usually hit for a little bit more power. So this is what intrigues me a lot about Kyle Jones is, I mean, he's a true freshman who played a lot, played 62 games as a freshman, like a lot of experience, not at the SEC level, but he did. I don't have the numbers right here in front of me, but I remember going through his game log. So obviously they played, I want to say they played in the same regional as Florida. I could be making that up. But whoever they played in the regional, he hit well in the regional, and he really took on down the stretch. His offense went up a little bit. He was pretty consistent with his average, always in the 330 to 350 range. But he really was on a tear to finish his freshman season, and he hit 4 of his 5 home runs in the last 20 games. So it's one of those things where I feel like this is not a diamond in the rough, because it's not like he's in the rough. And I mean, he's going to have plenty of people after him in the transfer portal, but that is kind of, he's the guy that's kind of at the top of my list. Not like the number one player of like, this is the best player in the portal, Arkansas has to get him. But if you just think about fit and what Arkansas needs and what he brings to the table and the projection there, I really, really like that piece. I would really be intrigued if Arkansas were to have a chance with Kyle Jones. And it seems like there is at least some connection. It seems like they've reached out to him. Now, I'm talking about Kyle Jones. I'm talking about Logan Maxwell, a couple of guys who have, a lot of consistency, a lot of get-on-base ability, but have not really brought a ton of proven power. And obviously, we think that's kind of, this Arkansas lineup is not going to be built without power. That's just a thing. I mean, especially if Nate Thompson remains the hitting coach. Power is going to be at the forefront of what Arkansas wants to do. And so I think if you're able to land any combination, another guy I should mention is Bristol Carter from East Carolina, who's, again, I believe he just finished his freshman season. Similar situation to Kyle Jones, very projectable. Didn't hit for a ton of power, but you can tell it's there. Some of the home run, I think he hit 4 or 5, maybe 6 home runs this year, but you can kind of tell, there's a little bit of some pop in that bat. There's some bat speed there that you feel like it's pretty projectable. Now Bristol Carter now he played left field. Logan Maxwell played left field. What interests me about Kyle Jones is he played center and seems like a plus defender in center, which I feel like when you're trying to build an outfield, that's kind of one of the first questions you got to ask is, all right, which one of these guys is really going to be able to run it down in center? So I feel like if they were able to get any combination of 2 from the Bristol Carter, Kyle Jones, and Logan Maxwell trio there, if they're going to, even if you're able to get one of those guys, really provide you with a little bit of stability and allows you, I feel like, to go after a guy with some real plus power, some, maybe some swing and miss, but like a legitimate power threat. So that's exciting. I think that's a good start for Arkansas in this transfer portal. Now, of course, they're going to need to do a lot more. There's plenty that you got to bring in. They haven't really, they don't need a ton in the pitching department because I really like the core that Arkansas has coming back with, obviously Gabe Gackle, Hunter Dietz, Gage Wood, and some of these other guys. That sophomore class taking their step forward. And by the way, I do want to touch on this. Before we finish the show, I definitely am going to run through the summer ball list because we finally got the full list of the summer ball destinations. Some interesting, some notable, and there's one particular name on that summer ball list that I want to talk about. And I think it's going to be interesting to just see how this summer plays out because, again, like I said on last week's show, when you're trying to build this roster, what you have coming back obviously matters. Now, you don't want to just be like assuming that all your players are going to take that next step and be, you don't want to assume that Ryder Helfrich is going to be just a lock to be your everyday catcher and going to be a stud. Or you don't want to assume Nolan Souza, you just throw him at second, third base, whatever, going to be stud, whatever. Because you got to have options here. But if there's one thing, if I have one request, DVH, if you're listening, Dave, which I know, 50-50 chance, who knows? The one thing that I've really thought about a lot lately, though, is the last 2 years, Arkansas's depth has been a priority, having 13, 14, 15 guys who you legitimately could start, which is nice, but you got to go get some big fish. You got to go get some big fish. I just think about that 2022 lineup where, you had your everyday lineup. It was pretty much the same lineup just about every day. And in the postseason, they really did commit to it almost to a fault where they had Zach Gregory in there over Jay Sporfman, whatever. But it's like you committed to that same lineup every day. However this roster shakes out, regardless of what names they bring in, regardless of what positions they go after, whatever, I just really hope and pray we can get to a point where there is a somewhat definitive, we know who's starting here. So it's like I said on last week's show, I would almost rather you get 3 truly proven, experienced guys that are starting rather than getting 6 guys like a Jared Sprague echelon where you're like, pretty good, could probably start, could maybe play here. You're like, think about Ross Lovich, Will Edmondson, and Jason Jones, a returner in this same echelon there. But they brought in so many guys who were like starting level guys, but nobody really emerged from that crop. I would much rather see Arkansas really pony up and go after like 2 or 3 big fish that are going to start and then kind of mix them in with their younger guys who I feel pretty good about for the most part. But yeah, I would much rather Arkansas have a little bit more definitive of a lineup. Full disclosure, I just talked for 22 minutes straight. I kind of forgot we had a chat here going on. I do want to shout out my guy H-Fan, who is just a character, man. He's just a character. Man, if I go like one day without doing a show, he's like, dude, when are you doing the show? When are you doing the show? But I want to shout out H-Fan, one, because he was the first person to comment. He said, next portal pop has got to be Shohei Ohtani to make people happy, which I thought was funny. But also because H-Fan, I ultimately, I felt like I had a lot to talk about on today's show. I just talked for 23 minutes straight without a breath on today's show. So I was like, I don't know if I need to do a live chat necessarily. But H-Fan really loves the live chat. Really likes it whenever it's like, if I'm not doing it live, he ain't listening. Which I appreciate the participation. I appreciate all of you guys that comment and make this show what it is, because it's a lot of fun, man. It really is a lot of fun. And look, this offseason is going to be a whirlwind. So let's just strap in and do what we got to do. But I do want to shout out H-Fan because I feel like I wouldn't have done this live today if it weren't for H-Fan pestering me, which honestly, I shouldn't have said that because now he's going to pester me every time. But that was the determining factor today was H-Fan. Our guy Addison says that summertime sadness is kicking in with the College World Series starting tomorrow. Here's the key to it, Addison. Just completely ignore it completely. Just don't watch it at all. If you need some things to watch, I'll let you know. I'm like itching to do mixed martial arts UFC content, and I might start ramping it up just because of the College World Series, because F that. But man, there's other things to watch. We can figure it out. You ain't got to watch the College World Series. It'll be all right. But it does seem like the College World Series or the NCAA tournament for baseball this year, the viewership is like way up. Every single week I'm seeing like press releases from ESPN. It's like, oh, the most watched SEC tournament ever, the most watched regional round ever, the most watched super, which frankly, I love. I really appreciate that, even though Arkansas is not there. Would it have been nice for my podcast to be catching the wave of all that? Would have been nice. Yeah. Would have been easier to pay the bills, but it's whatever. It is what it is. H-Fan also says, just pretend that the season got canceled for COVID. Yeah, that's not bad. And honestly, that might be what. Now, obviously, let's be real here. I don't want there to be a pandemic, but I do hope that. Let's just say that they all got rained out. Great name here, Hog Tub Time Machine. Is this the first time Hog Tub Time Machine's commented? I don't know if I've seen that one before, else I would have noticed. But he has a good comment. He says DVH knows what he's doing. It's hard to have success, and he's consistently in the running. Well, I agree with that 100%. DVH, there's one guy who does know what he's doing. It's DVH, and that's another thing that, I'm not trying to be one of those guys who's just, blindly putting my faith in this program. Obviously, I got burned for doing that this past season, but I'm not trying to just blindly be like, hey, you got to just accept everything, and everything's always going to be fine. It's always going to be fine. Me and Curtis used to joke about that because with the basketball team, when they would suck in the first month of the season under Muss, I'd always be like, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And he would always joke with me like they would lose to whoever, get blown out by Oklahoma. And he's like, oh, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Which, this past season it was not. But DVH does know what he's doing. And look, that's the one thing about this program that I feel like you kind of have to respect is there has not been like one formula they've used over the years. Like they have built this roster and rebuilt it dozens and dozens of times with completely different pieces. They've gone all portal, they've gone JUCO, they've gone just developing freshmen. And I think they're going to have to do a little bit of all of that with this year's roster. But I really like the pieces like that they're building around. And so, we'll see. But, Jonathan Parker wants to know, do you think we can get the lefty pitcher out of Ohio State? Well, I want to say yes, because literally they can get anyone. Like there is not a baseball player in this country that Arkansas couldn't at least pique their interest a little bit. Now they might not just choose to go to Arkansas, but yeah, absolutely. I think Arkansas can get, I mean, especially with Matt Hobbs and the way that Arkansas has been just cranking out and developing arms these last few years. It shouldn't be hard for Arkansas to get any arms that they want. Now I'm expecting Arkansas, it's not going to be one of those things where they bring in 5 Division I transfer portal pitchers. I think Arkansas is going to be very selective with what pitchers they bring in, because you got to think about it. And we'll talk about it when we talk about the Hogs of Summer, which is what they titled the summer ball list. Arkansas has a lot of pieces that are kind of like X factors, where like Ben Bybee, for example, is just the one that comes to my brain. It's like, you could talk me into Ben Bybee being anywhere from like midweek middle relief to like weekend starting. Like who knows what the hell that guy's role is going to be. I thought he took a nice little step forward as a sophomore, finished the year really strong, had a really good outing to finish the year. Who knows what this summer looks like for him pitching the Cape? Who knows what his development track looks like? So it's like, you don't want to bring in 5 transfer pitchers and then have 3 of them end up without a role. And so I think Arkansas is going to be very selective about what pitchers they bring in. But I do think it's going to be very, proven, legitimate guys. Like, I don't think they're going to bring in a ton of just like developmental pieces, because I think they got plenty of those on the roster. I was talking to a buddy of mine from LSU the other day, and we were talking about Samuel Dutton, who is a pitcher that just entered the portal for LSU. He threw like 30 innings this past year, and he's been at LSU for a couple years, has like pretty good stuff, but hasn't really taken that next step forward. And my buddy was like, oh, yeah, I wonder if, maybe someone will pick it, like another SEC school pick him up. And I'm just like, man, Arkansas has like 7 dudes on their roster right now who are kind of in that same mode of have pitched a little bit, have some good stuff, but haven't quite taken that step forward. And so I don't think Arkansas is going to look for like what I was talking about with Kyle Jones, of a guy that you're kind of projecting. I don't think Arkansas is going to take a bunch of pitchers that are like projects necessarily. I think it's going to be a lot more of like in the Mason Molina mold of arms, and maybe in the Craig Yoho mold. Y'all remember Craig Yoho from last offseason? That dude was nasty. That dude was disgusting. If he had made it to campus, he probably would have done some foul things in the SEC. Let's see. Honcho Razorback. Shout out to Honcho Razorback, man. I haven't seen him in a while. I hope you're doing well, Zach. He says, I ain't watching it either. I can't wait to rage when Tennessee wins it. Yeah, that would be tough. That would be tough. And Addison says he's a huge ACC fan here for 2 weeks. 100%. And everybody should be. I was actually talking to Madison McIntyre about this the other day, and I was like, dude, he was like, man, we just cannot afford to have an SEC team win the title, especially an SEC West team. Like if A&M would be the worst. I really do think A&M would be the worst. Tennessee would be tough because like Arkansas and Tennessee's fan bases, obviously there's a little bit of a rivalry there. They don't really like each other. But I do think like, especially if Arkansas was able to eventually hire Tony Vitello, it'd be like, But I think that would be a little bit tough. But I can't lie and say that I cheer against Tony Vitello. I just don't. And Hog Tub Time Machine says, I'd love to have Cash come in. Need some good hitters this year. I assume he is referencing Texas Tech first baseman Gavin Cash. Is that his name? Is it Gavin Cash? Yeah, he's Gavin Cash. That is the exact type of guy that I was thinking of when I was like just a legitimate power hitter. I mean, this is a dude. Gavin Cash hit 26 home runs as a sophomore at Texas Tech. 84 runs driven in, hit 327. Pretty unreal. I mean, just Arkansas hasn't had a dude hit 20 home runs since Chad Spanberger in 2017. So we're talking about 7 years of Arkansas not having a guy hit 20. Gavin Cash hit 26 as a sophomore. Now, his numbers dipped a little bit this past year at Texas Tech. Only hit 15 in 8 less games, but only hit 15. Hit 300 still, 926 OPS. Numbers are down a little bit, but I mean, either way, even if that was what Arkansas got, If Arkansas's first baseman next year hit 15 home runs, drove in 51, and hit 300, I think we would all sign up for that right away. But I also do think like that is a high ceiling guy. Now, he strikes out. He strikes out a lot. So does Ethan Petrie. Not Jack Caglianone. I can't say that because he doesn't really strike out. But a lot of the top, guys that can really bring some power and bring some juice and change your lineup, those are big time pieces. And yeah, I think everybody we should be dying to get Gavin Cash. Let's see. So Michael Kopesky says, how has UK gotten 7 and Hogs got 1? Well, if this were the end of the offseason, I would be very concerned. But it's very early in this process, Michael. And I would also now Kentucky. I'm not going to talk too much about Kentucky because they're having an awesome year. This is the best year of program history. They're in Omaha. Hell, they might win the whole damn thing. But I would argue, Michael, that getting 7 portal commits this early is probably not the way to go. Just because look, there's a lot of guys that haven't even entered the portal yet that are going to enter the portal and are going, it's like there's a lot of variables still to play out. I mean, this might play out until like late July, like after the draft. There's plenty of talented dudes that have not even hit the portal yet. So, I mean, for instance, Arkansas is one of 8 SEC or 8 D1 teams, I heard, according to 6-4 Analytics, which, by the way, got to give a shout out to 6-4 Analytics. I forget the guy's actual name. I know his old message board name. I want to say his name's Jason. But 6-4 Analytics, shout out to the guy that runs that. I don't know if he wants to be anonymous or whatever, but he's done such a really good job. I would say it's changed the game for college baseball transfer portal. Now it's a paid website, but it's got a lot of inside numbers, a lot of inside, and it ranks all the portal guys. And he's pretty good. If you just follow him on Twitter, 6-4 Analytics, they post all their big boards and kind of keep it's the best way to stay updated with the college baseball transfer portal. But yeah, I mean, he said Arkansas is one of 8 D1 teams that have not had a player enter the portal. Arkansas is obviously going to have a player enter the portal. I would imagine those other 7 teams are also going to have guys enter the portal. And we'll just see how this plays out. But I think getting that many guys early kind of handicaps what you can do as you're trying to build your roster. Now, I'm not going to lie. I have no idea who Kentucky brought in. They might have brought in Barry Bonds and Babe Ruth. Who knows? In which case, cool. But I think Arkansas, I used the term selective here when I was talking about the pitching staff. And I'm not saying Arkansas is going to be super selective, just big picture. But I do think that they're being calculated a little bit, which, I mean, I have no issue with. We'll just wait and see how this thing plays out. I don't want to jump to any conclusions because, there's just so many variables still to play out. And then H-Fan, I'll shout out to H-Fan, who also has the stuff. He says he pinch hit versus Arkansas in the regional. Okay, I remember looking at the numbers a while back, and I remember not seeing that he played a ton, but yeah, I guess he did pinch hit. Yeah. DeWill says, is center field the hardest outfield position to fill? Wish we could get the center fielder from Clemson. I mean, it's the hardest outfield position to fill because it's just really hard because it's the one that you really kind of need a good defender at. And so, there a lot of the big hitters in the outfield aren't playing center field, just typically. And so a lot of times, even if Arkansas were to get a big fish. I mean, Ethan Petrie didn't enter the portal, but it's even if you were to get someone like that, you still have to kind of have a guy not like Ty Wilmsmeyer, but a guy who can really go and track it down in center field. So, yeah, I would say it's definitely one of the tougher things. H-Fan says, Andrew, do you ever go watch the college summer ball league in Springdale? I have not. So I was not up here. I remember during COVID, that was it was really popping that league. Where Kevin Kopps is playing in it and all these hogs were there. I was not living up here at that point in time, so I was kind of jealous that I wasn't able to go see some of that. But no, I have not been to a college summer ball game in Springdale. But if there's one I need to go see, y'all gotta let me know. I will. I'm not opposed to pulling up for that. And shout out to my biggest hater, Daniel Shee, who says, "Wow, the JSL slander will never end. Have some mercy, Ellis." No, it's not that I'm slandering JSL. JSL very much was exactly he was exactly what he was supposed to be. And he was one of the better players on Arkansas's teams this year in the lineup. But I mean, I just think of Arkansas's portal class last year and kind of what all they did with it and who they brought in outside of Vahiva and Hudson White. there weren't guys that you like knew for sure were going to be in the starting lineup. Ty Wilmsmeyer fits that criteria. Ross Lovich fits that criteria. Jared Spraglott fits that criteria. It just felt like Jack Wagner fits that criteria. Like Arkansas brought in a lot of like pretty good guys, none of which really emerged besides, I guess, JSL. But it's like, it's just, you'd much rather have a much more definitive lineup. Zigu says, does McLaughlin have another year? He does not, which is unfortunate, man. Love Ben McLaughlin. He's the man. I love that. Let's see. I see. I hate when y'all have conversations in the middle of the chat. And now Addison has a good point here that Kerstad would have hit 20 in 2020, and he 100% would have. I mean, he had like 6 through 2 weeks or something like that. He was going to hit like 30 probably. He was about to put together a special season, so definitely worth noting. But yeah, like I mean, you're thinking about in the past 6-7 years, like Arkansas has not had a guy that like really has put up those gaudy offensive numbers. Seems like they're getting further and further away from that. And then Michael says, can Arkansas offer Charlie Condone 10 mil? And I don't think they will, but also even 10 mil is going to be like pushing it for what Charlie Condone's about to sign for this summer. So we will see. Let's see. Zigu says no more Missouri trash. It is what it is. Eddie Congress says, because Kentucky has the best coach in college baseball who is on top of things. That seems like a stretch. I like Nick Mingione. He's done a pretty good job there, man. He's done a good job. I would not consider him the best coach in college baseball. But, he's done a really good job this year. And I, respect to what he's done, but I agree. I kind of disagree. I don't think bringing in 7 dudes right now is the way to go. Because, I mean, it kind of limits what you can do down the road. Like, say you bring in, a center fielder that you're like, oh, yeah, we brought in this center fielder from Northern Kentucky or whatever. And then there's 5 center fielders that enter the portal in the next 2 weeks. Like, this process is going to play out a long time. Like, it's going to take several weeks for it all to play out. So, I mean, we'll see. But I don't know if I agree that is necessarily like means good things. But okay, let's talk about some summer ball just for a little bit, because also before we talk summer ball, I do want to give a few shout outs to Hagen Smith, first team All-American, perfect game. And there'll be more that come out, and he will continue to rack up those awards. I think he was also the pitcher of the year nationally by perfect game, which, feels right, feels accurate, despite how the season ended. Well-deserved. Awesome. Shout out to Gabe Gackle and Colin Fisher, freshman All-American. Which Colin Fisher I was a little bit surprised by, just considering he got shut down halfway through the year. And, but there's really just not a ton of freshmen that, especially starting pitchers, that really do a ton. So it kind of makes sense. Let's talk about summer ball for a second. So I'm just going to go through the list here of what Arkansas has going on. So Vahiva Aloy will be playing in the Cape Cod League. Now we'll see how much he actually plays, because he played every game this year. A lot of times guys like Vahiva, who are kind of already proven commodities and played a ton the year before, usually don't stick around for the whole time. Like I think even last year, Kendall Diggs played 20 games. Like he kind of joined a little bit late in the process. So we'll see how long he's actually up there. But joining Vahiva in the Cape Cod League will be Ben Bybee, Parker Coyle, Christian Fouch, not Gabe Gackle, who was assigned there because he's going to pitch for Team USA. He and Christian Fouch, which is going to be awesome. I guess I said Christian Fouch, but he and Gabe Gackle both are going to be attending the Team USA minicamp. Now, obviously, there's a little bit of a process there. I think they bring in 50 and then cut it down. So, we'll see if they make the roster or not. But they're at least going to start the summer with Team USA, which, is always an awesome experience. I mean, usually is a pretty big honor, and so awesome for them. But joining those guys in the Cape Cod League, Ryder Helfrich will be there catching. Jason Jones will be there playing some outfield. Tate McGuire, who threw a couple innings early in the year for Arkansas, freshman right-handed pitching, as well as Gage Wood. And man, I love these team names so much. It just they just bring back so many fun memories. My favorite collegiate summer ball team is in the California Collegiate League. It's become pretty much the second home for the Arkansas Razorbacks, the Santa Barbara Foresters. And who will be playing for the Santa Barbara Foresters? You've got Jae-Woo Cho, You've got Tucker Holland, freshman, who was a pretty highly touted, big commodity going into his freshman year. Diego Ramos, he also did not appear in a game this past season as a freshman. And Nolan Souza, who appeared in a lot of games as a freshman. This is also the same summer league that Christian Franklin played in, same summer team that he played for after his freshman year, which really I feel like launched him into what would have been a breakout sophomore year if COVID didn't happen, but into him being kind of one of the more highly regarded players in the country. So, I mean, look, Nolan Souza is kind of the one that sticks out for me from that group. Now, Jay Woo Cho, I'm going to be dialed in seeing what he's doing. But, and I just want to go ahead and full disclosure, guys on this list that I'm reading off, some of them are going to transfer. Let's just be for real about this. Just mathematically speaking, they kind of have to. But I'm really interested to see how Nolan Souza's summer plays. And honestly, I would, obviously you'd rather him go to the Cape and really face top tier pitching. But I think it's going to really help for him being in the California League, because I'd imagine he's going to be the best hitter on his team, hitting 2, 3, 4 in the lineup. I imagine he's going to hit a ton of nukes just because, that's just what he does. But I think that experience is going to be really key for him in terms of launching him into his sophomore year. And, man, I'm going to keep you guys updated as much as I can. The Cape guys have just now gotten there. I believe I was just talking to Faraday the other day. I believe he just got there, which, by the way, Jake Faraday is another name. I forgot. I was trying to save him for last when I was talking about the Cape guys. It's time to have the Jake Faraday conversation, guys. So, okay, I've seen, a lot of people kind of projecting how, who might get drafted, who might come back. And, I was seeing a guy that was basically convinced that Molina and Tigert and Diggs and Faraday were all going to go undrafted. And I kind of was shooting it down. I mean, all year long, I've been saying Jake Faraday is going to get drafted. And I still think Jake Faraday is going to get drafted. But it has recently come to my attention that Faraday has the option for a medical redshirt, a medical hardship, because last year in the 2023 season, I believe he threw one inning and got hurt during that inning and did not pitch again. Now, we'll see how it plays out. I know there's paperwork involved and who knows, but by all indications, it seems like that's an option for him. If that's the case and he has an extra year of leverage, which would mean that he would be a redshirt sophomore this past season and a redshirt junior next season, that makes it a very real option that he could come back. If he were a true junior that only had 1 year of eligibility left, I think that if he, wants to get drafted, he will get drafted. I mean, we've seen far, far worse arms get drafted. Let's just call it what it is. I mean, Mark Adamiak got drafted by the Oakland Athletics. Elijah Tress got drafted. Zach Plunkett got drafted, and he wasn't even a freaking pitcher. We've seen the MLB draft is purely tools based. So, your college production, sure, it can matter and help you decipher those tools a little bit, but it's very much a skill set and tools based ordeal. And someone with tools like Jake Faraday, just throws 98, throws that hard cutter, throws a good slider. I'd say it's very obvious what he is and what he can be. And so I'd imagine I have a hard time believing he won't get drafted, but I did think it was worth noting that he has that little extra year of leverage a little bit. Just worth noting. Now, he is also in the Cape, and it's on a temporary contract because obviously, there's guys that, and it's happened before in the past. I know Matt Goodhart was playing in the Cape and then signed a free agent deal and then left the Cape. That kind of happens all the time. I'm sure it happens every year. But Jake Faraday is on a temporary contract because obviously there is a very real possibility that he gets drafted and signed. But I did want to mention that just, as a little bit of a footnote in terms of when we're thinking about this roster next year. Going through a couple more of the summer ball destinations. It's very heavy on the Cape. I mean, I listed a lot of names there, but Arkansas has also got 3 guys in the New England Collegiate Baseball League. Reese Robinette, who was there last year, or actually that's a lie. Reese Robinette was in the Coastal Plains League last year. This year he's in the New England Baseball League, which is where Roland and Hudson Polk went last year. Reese Robinette and Ty Wade from Texarkana. You guys remember him, the guy that right-handed pitcher, catcher, first baseman, right field, whatever. Ton of power at the plate. Ty Wade, by the way, for anybody that remembers him, he was a pretty well-known recruit, had a lot of buzz coming to Arkansas. And he had some moments in the offseason where he was, showed off some real pop at the plate. He strikes out a lot. He really likes striking out, but legitimate got a bat. He's also pitching this summer. I believe he's made at least one appearance this year so far as a pitcher. Was that just a random throwaway? We need someone to do it. I don't know, but I know he was a big time pitcher in high school. And so maybe that's an option that they're thinking about with him. We'll see how it plays out. But I did want to mention he and Reese Robinette, who again is another one I want to keep an eye on this summer as someone where when you're thinking about this roster and how it might play out, if Reese Robinette all of a sudden is hitting 370 in the New England League and raking, slugging 700 or whatever, you start to really think, okay, hey, maybe this guy might be someone we need to really consider here. So they will be teammates with the Martha's Vineyard Sharks. What a great name. And then on the other side, on the Ocean State Waves in the New England League, Jack Smith, freshman left-handed pitcher. And now I'll be honest with you, he's already had a couple outings so far, and it has not gone well. He's been walking a lot of guys, which is kind of what allowed Jack Smith to not get on the field as a freshman this year. But I really like this arm, and I think he's got a chance to help. Will it be at Arkansas? We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But I actually really like Jack Smith a lot. I think he's got a chance to pitch at a very high level and pitch for a long time. Left-handed, can run it up 95, 96, 97. Now, of course, got to get that command in order. So we'll see if he's able to do that. And then rounding out our summer ball destinations, we've got Cade Smith, the outfielder, who is playing in the Alaska Baseball League. I don't even know how to pronounce his team name, but their mascot is the Chinooks. So we'll just go with that. But, man, I'm really, really intrigued to see just kind of how this summer plays out for a lot of these guys, because there's a lot at stake, man. We'll see. We'll see. Like, I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces here. A lot of, when you're talking about this roster and trying to forecast it and project it, these summer ball games are going to matter a lot, and also it just matters a lot for the personal development of some of these pitchers. I mean, I think about Christian Fouch and Cooper Dossett last year pitching in the Northwoods League. I felt like the experience they got there really helped propel them to a situation where they could contribute in a big way this year. And it is what it is. I mean, like, that's a lot of these breakout stories happen in summer ball. So I think we do need to be keeping an eye on that. Let's see. I see. Apparently there's some Kentucky fans in the chat there. But Tyler Tober says, what are the three biggest needs going into next year? Do you expect any freshmen that redshirted this year to contribute heavily next year? So biggest needs, I think outfield is like I said at the top, like that's the first number one priority. I think they want to get that figured out. Now, if you think about the infield and what Arkansas has coming back, obviously Vahiva Loy is your shortstop. And I want to go ahead and nip this in the bud right now, because I've seen some people kind of talking about, maybe you bring, because there's a lot of big time shortstops in the portal right now. I know SEMO's shortstop Ben Palmer just recently entered the portal, and that's a very notable name, guy that obviously made Arkansas pay a little bit. That's one I just don't think Arkansas is going to be going after shortstops in the portal, because they have one of the best shortstops in the country. Like, I just, and I don't think you're going to see in a scenario where they bring in another shortstop and say, oh, maybe Vahiva plays second. Like, I think when you have a guy like Vahiva Loy, like, that's your shortstop. But also just thinking about what Arkansas has coming back on its roster, like Nolan Souza is a guy that we kind of expect to fill into that lineup. He's probably playing second or third base. Ryder Helfrich is a guy that we expect to fill in that lineup and play catcher. So I think when you're thinking about the infield, it's a little bit like less of a dire situation. Now, they still really, I feel like, need to get a very proven corner infielder, whether it's first base, third base, whatever. I feel like they need to go out and get someone that's like a proven, experienced veteran hitter that can kind of slide right in there. But you asked if there were any freshmen that redshirted this year to contribute heavily next year. I don't know about freshmen. I would say Tucker Holland probably like sticks out to me when you think about guys that just redshirted. But now he was a little bit injury situation because he was a big time recruit. But frankly, based on what was going on in the fall and the spring, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. Now the name that really I kind of was about to skim over, Adam Hatchman is the number one, like, redshirted, but it was only because of injury. Now they thought about maybe working him in down the stretch last year, but he is the big one where I think, like, we'll see what he looks like this fall, but I think he could be a major, major factor in the pitching staff. But in terms of position players, I don't think so. Like Wade, Smith, I just don't imagine, like, I wouldn't say they're going to be contributing heavily. Now, the one name that redshirted that's not a freshman, Reese Robinette, he's one that I definitely think I've been a big country believer since the fall of his freshman year. I love that kid, dude, and he just rakes. He can hit at this level. I'm just telling you right now, he can hit at this level. He's also not a bad defender at third base, and when I say not a bad defender, he made a lot of plays in the field. Like I mean, look, I'm not saying I'm a talent evaluator or anything, but I've watched this dude play a lot of baseball between scrimmages in the fall, scrimmages in the spring, and obviously he had some moments as a freshman at Arkansas. I think Reese Robinette's an SEC player, man. I think that's a dude that can legitimately play in the SEC. Like I'm not saying he's going to be like the new souped up Peyton Holt or anything, but if I would not be stunned at all if in April of next year we're all writing the big country story of how he persevered and redshirted and didn't let it deter him and all that. Dude, I'll never forget. I've said it like probably 7 times on the pod. One of the last scrimmages leading up to the season, going into this past season, 2024, the season where Reese Robinette redshirted, he hit an opposite field double off the left field wall against Hagen Smith. Left on left. We're talking about a big old country boy swinging from the left side. To do that against Hagen Smith, that alone, now obviously I'm not saying he could do it 10 times, but I'm just saying like, that tells you there's a little something there. I've seen him take a lot of these pitchers on this Arkansas staff yard. The dude's legit, man. He's legit. I've seen him homer off Brady Tigert. I've seen him hit the best pitching Arkansas can throw at him. I was very surprised that he redshirted this past year. Now, it kind of made sense the more I thought about it, and when DBH kind of talked about it, they just kind of assumed that they wouldn't have this much of a rotation there. And, of course, Ben McLaughlin was really good at first base, so it's not like Arkansas had, of all the issues Arkansas had in the lineup, it wasn't first base. But I do think Reese Robinette, we'll see what they do with him defensively, and we'll see if he sticks around, and we'll see how his summer goes. But I think that's a dude that can absolutely contribute in a big way. Will it happen? I don't know, just because there's a lot in the air, a lot of moving pieces here. But I think Reese Robinette is one that really sticks out to me. And then Addison says you got to deal with the draft too. I guess this is referencing Kentucky coaches and bringing in 7 guys. That's another thing, another factor with this transfer portal thing is, like, I know LSU just got a huge commit out of Luis Hernandez from Indiana State, guy who drove in like 70 runs last year, hit like 20-some home runs. He's very much a real prospect. I mean, Arkansas, I remember Jordan Sprinkle when Arkansas signed him to play shortstop, and I was like, oh man, he's going to be the Jalen Battles replacement. And then he got drafted over Jalen Battles. Now, I don't expect that to happen necessarily with all these cases, but it's definitely a factor that you've got to consider. And it's why I think a guy like Logan Maxwell is kind of like the perfect guy to bring in, where he's like clearly a good college player, consistent, proven veteran dude. But I don't imagine he's like high up on a ton of draft boards. So I think he's kind of the perfect one to make it work. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out. H-Fan says, Andrew wants to talk Jake. Yeah, H-Fan was giving me some shit because I was someone on the Discord yesterday said, is Jake Faraday coming back? And I just straight up responded right away and said no. I was like, nah, he's not coming back. He's getting drafted. Then I did a little bit of digging and talked to a few people, talked to Jake himself, and I responded to myself, and I was like, not so fast, asshole. Kind of joking. The joke went over everyone's head. They were like, why are you having a conversation with yourself on the Discord? But, it is what it is. Addison says, love seeing all the players going to the Cape. Me too, man. I think, one, it's the premier baseball league for summer ball. Like for the premier college baseball summer league is 100% the Cape. Ton of scouts there. So, for all the guys going, that's Jake Faraday, the guy we're talking about now, the reason he got on some of those scouts' radar is because of how he threw in the summer last year. And so I think that's worth noting. And I just think it's going to be good for all of them. It's going to be good to evaluate these guys. Because the thing, you can send a guy, like, for instance, Will Edmondson, who obviously you guys know is, Arkansas's 5th outfielder this past year. He played in a thing called the Jayhawk League last year, and he hit freaking 400, stole 30 bases, was hitting nukes there too. And it's just obviously he was just too good for that league. And so it's yeah, you can look at that and be like, all right, cool. We had a guy hit 400 in summer ball, awesome. But it's what do you really make of it? Because it's I don't know. Going in the Cape, that's a legitimate evaluation. If you're able, if Jason Jones goes to the Cape and all of a sudden hits 280 with 6-7 home runs, that's a very notable, that's a statement, rather than just, someone going to the, someone hitting well, even in the California League or, Northwoods League or whatever. Arkansas I guess Arkansas just out on the Northwoods League this year, just didn't send anybody there. But now, yeah, I think it's really awesome to see these players going to the Cape. I think it's going to make this summer a lot more fun to kind of monitor. I've really been debating. Hillary loves that area. Like she loves Maine. She loves just kind of that whole Northeast area. And so like, I've kind of been trying to talk her into maybe taking a trip to go see some guys. Like maybe we do a little fun vacation in the summer and I dip away to a little ballpark. Yeah, she would be very, that'd be so funny if I just didn't tell her about the whole situation and we just went to the Cape for a fun couple vacation. And then I'm like, hey, let's slip over here. I got to watch the Wareham Gateman play. That'd be pretty funny. Hayden Ulmer, my guy, he says, let's get us some poor character mashers of the baseball. 24 home run donkey at third base and gets into about 7 bar fights in the 2025 season. Yeah, I kind of like that. I mean, you want to talk that Tennessee? That's what Tennessee has a lot of. And he says poor character as a joke. I'm saying it as a joke as well. So a lot of people always are like, man, Arkansas brings in high character guys, which, high character guys is translation for a guy that's pretty good. Guy's pretty good, I like that Hayden's like, yeah, let's forget the character guys. Let's just get dudes that mash. I like that. So Addison said, pretty sure Fouch played for the Foresters last year. So it was Jason Jones and Cooper Dossett played for the Green Bay Rockers. I know this because I watched a lot of Green Bay Rocker last summer. But yeah, I mean, the Foresters have had, Christian Franklin played there. Jake Faraday played there. Elijah Tress played there. I'm trying to feel like, I feel like there's been a few other ones that I'm missing out on, but yeah, Arkansas always has Jacob Burton. I remember him being there because I remember at the time thinking Jacob Burton was going to be awesome. Let's see. But yeah, the Foresters have had a ton of hogs over the years. I guess they're just like, it's like the unofficial summer home for many Razorbacks. I like it. Zigu says, speaking of the Cape, Summer Catch, not a terrible movie. Never heard of it. Never seen it. Is it a baseball movie? If so, I might check it out. Oh, H-Fan says Jessica Biel is in it. Or he says loves Summer Catch and Jessica Biel. I don't know if that means she's in it or if he just loves Jessica Biel. Either way, probably valid. Addison says, will you be posting updates somewhere about performance and stats? Yes, I will. I'm going to wait until like a few of these guys have already started to play. The Cape, I think, starts in the next few days. I think this weekend actually might be the first weekend. So I'll wait until there's a little bit of a sample size. But yes, I will absolutely be keeping a running tally of everyone's stats, and I will post them, weekly, semi-weekly. Maybe even, if there's notable updates, maybe twice a week. But yeah, I think I will definitely be keeping it. And that'll be on our site, nattystatesports.com, which, by the way, people forget sometimes we do have a site. We do have a website. We do write words. And we will be doing that. And of course, for everyone that's not in the Discord, I don't know if the Discord is in this link of this bio or the link of the description of this YouTube video, but we'll be keeping track. We'll be keeping track for sure. Let's see. Yeah, Zigu says Hatch, Dietz, and Gak. Oh baby. By the way, did y'all see Hunter Dietz's new NIL deal? I saw that yesterday. He tweeted it out, and I'd seen it a couple times now or heard about it. Dietz nuts. So, for those that don't remember Hunter Dietz that pitched a couple innings this year, but he's also like one of Arkansas's most talented arms on the entire roster, was their top pitcher in the class last year, and he's going to be a very big part of what Arkansas does on the mound in 2025. He's got an NIL deal with a nut company called Dietz Nuts. I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, Zigu says the Robinette home run against LSU was a monster blast. It was a monster blast. He hit it off Christian Little, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure he hit it off Christian Little, who is, turned the corner a little bit for LSU. But yeah, he's awesome. Flying Blind says, late to join. What are the spark notes of the stream to this point? I love when people do this. Like you can't move the cursor back and just listen from the start. But Logan Maxwell, we feel good about Logan Maxwell. That's what you need. And, I like Kyle Jones. I like Kyle Jones a lot. That's the spark notes. Let's see. Flying Blind says, I think Will could play center field for us next year. He's a plus fielder. I'm assuming this is Will Edmondson. Will Edmondson we're talking about. We're talking about Pill Edmondson. Yeah, I mean, Will Edmondson, he played some center for Arkansas this year. He's a plus athlete for sure. And I have no issue. I think he can cover the ground for sure. I don't know if necessarily he's got necessarily the arm to be like a plus defender in center field, but I think he's a serviceable option there. And I mean, look, dude, if the dude can hit, then hell yeah, man. If he can make it work, I like Will Edmondson. I think he's going to be on the roster this year. I think he's going to stick around. I don't know why he wouldn't. I like Will Edmondson, man. I wouldn't be completely stunned if he kind of took a little jump. I mean, this is a dude that's like the ultimate like underdog. You know, I wouldn't be stunned if Will. But I think that's the thing about this Arkansas roster is there's a lot of variables like that where it's like none of us are really accounting for. Like, I don't think a lot of people have Reese Robinette penciled in at first base, and I'm not saying he will be, but I think he could play, man. I don't think a ton of people have Jason Jones penciled in, but if he puts together a good summer, I think he's absolutely a factor in this lineup. I don't think a ton of people have Will Edmondson penciled in, but I think if he has, he's not playing anywhere this summer, but I could 100% see him working into it. And so it's like there's a lot of variables, and so it's not as easy as y'all think in terms of just go out there and get 7 portal commits. Just go bring in as many guys as you can, because then it's like then you got to manage the entire roster and you got to process some dudes, and it's a job that I don't envy. It doesn't look like a lot of fun, but I trust that this coaching staff is going to do a good job doing it, as they pretty much do every year. Flying Blind wants to know, is Gabe going to be the Friday night guy next season, or do you think we see someone like Gage Wood instead? I think if Gabe Gackle is not the Friday night guy, it probably means they went out and got someone who is that good and, ends up being that kind of role. I wouldn't be stunned if Gage Wood kind of took that next step forward. I'll be interested to see if Gage Wood is starting games in the Cape. And if, he gets some experience there and he looks awesome, you could talk me into it, especially just as a kind of like his mentality and his personality. I could see him kind of getting that nod as the older guy. But I think Gabe Gackle is going to be the best pitcher on the roster. I think he's going to be one of the best pitchers in the country. So I think, I think I'd feel pretty good about that. Jeremy McCollum says, where is Kyle Jones from? He's from Stetson. He's a Mad Hatter. I believe are they the Hatters or the Mad Hatters? I don't know, but he's from Stetson. One to keep an eye on for sure. I want to also shout out Jeremy McCollum because I had said on last week's show, I had joked that I was like, yeah, when baseball season ends, you find out you have more time on your hands. Turns out I had a son this whole time. And I said that jokingly. I don't have a son. But then I also, Jeremy had been like, hey, are you doing a pod this week? And I was like, yeah, man, just got a little busy. Had some stuff pop up on the personal front. And he was like, dude, do you really have a kid? I was like, no, I don't have a kid, but just had some stuff. I was a little busy, man. A little busy. So shit happens sometimes. But he also wants to know, do I think Will McIntyre comes back? It's funny. I talk to Madison McIntyre, not all the time, but somewhat, every now and then. And I have not asked him this question in a while. I would just gut feeling, I would lean towards no. But never know, man. You never know. But we will see. So guys, if you have any last minute questions, you better get them in right now, because I'm in the process of signing off. But I appreciate you guys for joining me today on today's program. We will see. I don't want to set a programming schedule or anything because there's a lot of stuff going on in my life, in the Natty State sports world, in the baseball world, and whatever. So I don't want to say, I'll see you guys X date or whatever. I haven't officially decided, if I'm going to do the full, go live every time there's a commitment thing, because there could be 14 of those. But, we'll see. I mean, tomorrow afternoon, we live in the moment. Who knows? If we get a little announcement in the next 36 hours, perhaps you might see my face again. But if not, I will definitely be joining you guys next week and updating you on all the latest fun action in the transfer portal, because we're all having a lot of fun. And hopefully we'll get a little bit more action, because there really hasn't been a ton other than our guy Cahillo, who I messed up his name so many times on last week's pod. I feel bad about it, but it is what it is. But guys, again, appreciate you for joining me. It's been another fun edition of the Baumbastic Podcast. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed to the main Natty State YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed on Apple and Spotify and all that. I'll just tell you this. I asked on last week's program, I asked everybody, I was like, hey, let me know how you listen to the pod. And I appreciated everybody kind of commenting there. So, how they do it and kind of saying whatever. One way I'll recommend, long drives, dude. Long drives are when you need to be listening to podcasts. If you have to drive 45 minutes to work, if you have to drive an hour to go see your step kid or whatever, that's when you should really be throwing on this Baumbastic Podcast. So make sure you're subscribed on Apple, Spotify. Make sure you download the episodes. Don't just listen. Make sure you download the episodes. Just saying. But guys, I appreciate all you guys joining me for today's episode. And it sucks that we're not doing, this in Omaha and that we're not ramping up for the College World Series right now. Every time I think about it, I get sad. And so I'm not going to do that. But man, I'm bummed out again. But it is what it is. We're going to experiment this summer and we're going to have to, continue to cover it the best way we can. Might have some different guests pop on and maybe have Daniel Shee return, make his comeback. But either way, the Baumbastic Podcast ain't going nowhere. We are going to continue to be setting the standard for college baseball, for Arkansas baseball coverage and in Arkansas baseball podcasting. So appreciate you guys for joining me, man. It's really been a lot of fun, and I will see you guys very, very shortly. Whether that's tomorrow, whether that's Monday, whether that's Tuesday, I don't know yet, but I will let you know. But it's been another fun edition of the Baumbastic Podcast. I hope you all have a beautiful day.